Hello everyone, I am Gho-Paranorma. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, then, welcome. I create videos on everything, including haunted, spooky, and mysterious topics. In today's video, we're going to talk about haunted places that, I personally think, are one of the most popular sites, where a paranormal presence is felt. Hotels. Hotels not only provide a place to stay, eat, and relax, but they also seem to help people find ways of distancing themselves from others, a place where people might know your name, but they don't know you. Probably, that's a reason there are not only deaths and murders that have happened there, but the spirits who are left behind constantly try to remind us of their presence, of their history and their pains. But sometimes, the land on which the hotels are built has histories of its own, and the Marshall House Hotel in Savannah, Georgia, seems to be one of them. So, let us begin with our first hotel. Savannah, Georgia. A city draped in Spanish moss, cobblestone streets, and secrets older than the nation itself. But nestled in the heart of this historic city is a hotel that holds more than southern charm and hospitality. It holds voices from the past, and maybe, just maybe, something else entirely. This is the story of the Marshall House Hotel, one of the most haunted hotels in America. And today, we're going deeper into the history, the hauntings, and the unexplainable experiences shared by guests who lived to tell the tale. Let's start with a brief history of the Marshall House. Honestly, considering how old this hotel is, its history is the opposite of brief. But for the sake of this video, we will focus on a condensed version of all the information I could gather. Established in 1851 by Mary Marshall on land she inherited from her father, the Marshall House is widely regarded by architectural historians as Mary's greatest masterpiece. But what makes this hotel unforgettable isn't just its antebellum beauty, it's the suffering sealed into its very floorboards. During the Civil War, the Marshall House was converted into a Union hospital. As freezing winter set in during 1864, the burial of the countless amputated limbs became impossible. The solution? Hide them under the floorboards. And so they remained until a renovation in the 1990s, when workers discovered human remains beneath the old wooden floors. Not the remnants of a crime, but the bones of the broken Civil War soldiers, whose agony echoes still. While there is no definitive proof of the remains, after reading different articles, there wasn't much evidence to be found. You might assume that such an extraordinary event from the late 90s would have been covered in the news, right? Yet, no conclusive evidence was found. But many visitors believe it's a strong possibility, as numerous guests report seeing the spirits of soldiers with amputated limbs wandering the corridors. And that was only the beginning. There are also some information about the ghosts that roam the hallways. Toilets overflowing. Faucets that turn on by themselves. Doorknobs that jiggle like someone is trying to get in. And always the voices, disembodied and echoing down the halls in the stillness of night. Guests staying on the 4th floor have reported loud crashes in the early morning hours and the unmistakable sound of heavy boots pacing the hallway. A particularly bold spirit haunts the ladies' restroom, locking stalls and then vanishing. Others have reported flickering lights, televisions switching on and off, and an unmistakable sense that they are not alone. And what about room 414? Some say it's the most active room of all. One guest wrote, "We stayed on the 4th floor. That last night, our room stunk of rotted flesh during the day. We left for dinner, and when we returned, it was gone. But at night, we awoke to bootsteps walking around our bed. Then my ankle was grabbed. I then saw a shadow disappear into the wall. Needless to say, that rattled me, and my husband slept through it all." During the hotel's renovation in the late 1990s, employees reported that rooms 214, 314, and 414 had disturbing odors. The scents were so malevolent, described as resembling decaying flesh, that the staff turned to collective prayer and played gospel music continuously in those rooms to neutralize the smell. Here's what I found about children's spirits haunting the hotel. Throughout the building, laughter of unseen children is often heard, especially around 3 a.m. The sound of rubber balls and marbles rolling down the hallways, and when guests look, nothing. No children. No toys. No explanation. A man named Christopher shared, We heard what sounded like children running and adults talking loudly in the hallway at midnight. When I checked, the hallway was completely empty. It kept happening until we fell asleep. Another visitor remembered a disturbing encounter. My son came out of the bathroom in tears and said, "The boy bit me." I asked which boy. He said, "The one I was playing with." He had a bite mark on his arm. The mother of the boy hurried to check the bathroom, but couldn't find the child her son mentioned. However, when she examined her son's arm, she discovered a bite mark. Her face instantly drained of color. Later, she learned that this wasn't the first incident of unusual bite marks at the Marshall house. Other guests had also experienced child-sized bite marks that were made with such intensity that they left bruises each time, with the bite marks appearing in locations on the body that could only be reached by someone exceptionally flexible, too high or too low on the body to be self-inflicted. Here are some other spooky experiences that people have had in the hotel. One woman said, "We stayed in room 313. Every morning around 3 a.m., it sounded like a ball rolling down the hallway and the stairs. Then it rolled back up. It happened every night. We thought it was awesome and would 100% stay there again." Others weren't as enthusiastic. Unexplained noises. Smells. That unsettling feeling in your gut. "I always felt like something was about to appear." One guest recalled, "I heard what sounded like walking around on the floor above, but there is only the roof. Then I was touched. On the ankle and hip. I was fully awake. It made me nearly jump out of bed." On one blog post about the Marshall House Hotel, I found comments of former guests sharing their haunted experiences at the hotel. Here are a few of them. One person commented, "My husband and I stayed in the hotel Friday night and Saturday night, 4th floor, room 412. Early Saturday morning at 4:40 a.m. I remember because when I woke up, I looked right at the clock. I heard heavy footsteps right at our door. And early Saturday, around 2 a.m. same heavy footsteps right outside the door. Then, around 4 a.m., I heard knocking, and then sleep paralysis kicked in. I did not get any sleep. We will be back." To that comment, another person replied, "My wife and I just stayed in room 412. We heard the same thing, lots of walking in the hall. When we looked, hall was empty." The late writer Joel Chandler Harris was known to visit the Marshall house often before his death, and several reports have indicated that the sound of a typewriter can sometimes be heard echoing from the room he used to occupy. Here's what I found about ghost sightings and paranormal equipment. Some guests come prepared with ghost hunting apps, cameras, and EMF detectors. One woman shared, "My husband used an app called Ghost Tube. It showed stick figures in the stairwell, hallways, and our room. The alarm clock in the room went off by itself at 6 a.m. We never touched it." Another guest brought a doll, hoping for spirit interaction. She said, "The doll didn't move, but on my recordings, I heard a spirit ask if they could play with her. I also got an EVP that said, 'Here is the nurse.'" Guests have seen Civil War soldiers, a woman holding rosary beads, even priests praying in their rooms. And then there's Mary Marshall herself. A young girl once pointed to her portrait in the lobby and said, "That's the lady I saw in the hallway. She died over a century ago." The thing is, Savannah was built on the bones of the past, and the Marshall House stands atop some of its darkest chapters. Hospital. Battlefield. Grave. With its rich history, southern charm, and undeniable energy, the Marshall House continues to draw the curious, the brave, and the unlucky few who experience something they can't quite explain. One guest summed it up perfectly. "The Marshall House completely creeped me out. I loved my time there, but I couldn't find any rest." So we ask you, would you check in? And if you did, would you sleep with the lights off? That's all for today's video. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more haunted history and true ghost stories from around the world.